The objective of this problem is to test hypotheses about a population proportion. Take a moment to pause the video to read the full problem statement. So one of the first things that we're going to do is check that the requirements for testing the hypothesis are satisfied. And really the only thing that we really have to calculate here is this value, which is n being the sample size, 107, times p naught, which was given as 0.32, and then times 1 minus 0.32, which is the same as 0.68, and we see here that we get approximately 23.3 when we round to 1 decimal place, and we confirm that that is greater than 10. We can safely assume here that definitely the sample size is less than 5% of the population size, and we're told that the sample is a random sample. So that way we know that these requirements for testing the hypothesis are satisfied. The next thing that we want to do is set up the null and alternative hypotheses, and you can see that that's been done here. We are testing a proportion, so that null hypothesis is that p equals 0.32, but what we're trying to test, the alternative hypothesis, is that p is greater than 0.32. That's what's being suggested in this problem. So for the rest of this example, or at least these next two parts, we can use StatCrunch to help us calculate the test statistic, z0, and the p-value. I would highly recommend using technology of some form whenever you can. So here are those instructions for testing or finding this test statistic and p-value. In this particular case, we don't have raw data. Instead, we have data that's as a summary. And we have summary data. So when we go to stat, proportion statistics, we're going to select one sample, and we'll select then with summary. So I'm going to walk through that process now. I just try to move some things here around my screen so I can fit it all. Again, this screenshot I got from our e-text, and I just brought up StatCrunch over here on the side so that we can kind of follow along with those steps. So again, we go to stat, proportion stats, one sample, and in this case we have a summary. So we'll do with summary. The number of successes, I have to slide over just a little bit here, were 44 out of the sample size 107. So let's type that in. Number of successes, 44 out of 107. We do select this radial button for hypothesis test, and our p-naught was 0.32. What we had as the alternative hypothesis was greater than 0.32. And with that, we should be able to compute. So let's see what we get here. We do have a z-stat, 2.02. So let me minimize some things here on my screen so we can see that, 2.02. And a p-value of 0.022 when we round to 3 decimal places. The last part of this problem asks you to correctly state the conclusion, and since that p-value is greater than alpha, that level of significance being 0.01, we do not reject the null hypothesis. So that would be the best wording there for the conclusion.